Today's episode of Passionate Talk is brought to you by Audible. Get a free audio download and 30-day free trial at books.passionatetalk.com. There's over 180,000 titles to choose from for your iPhone, Android, Kindle, or MP3 player. Get your 30-day free trial and free audiobook at books.passionatetalk.com. Hey folks, welcome to another episode of Passionate Talk. I am your host, Gary Karp, and this is episode number 33. My conversation today is with Integrative Health Specialist Cheryl Meyer. Cheryl is going to share her journey on how she became an Integrative Health Specialist, and we're going to talk a little bit about the difference between functional medicine and conventional medicine. Cheryl is also going to talk about Kryptonite foods, the Dirty Dozen food list, and the Clean 15 food list. You're not going to want to miss this. We're also going to talk about the environmental work group and how they list foods that are A-OK to eat. Cheryl will also let us know about ants and how having ants is not a good thing. You don't want ants in your pants, you don't want ants in your picnic, and you certainly don't want ants in your thoughts. And Cheryl's going to tell us all about what they are. So right now, I invite you to sit back, relax, grab a cup of coffee, maybe some tea, and get ready to listen to my interview with Cheryl. The personal stories are the only reasons for being, because, you know, we spend time with people, we want to know their personal stories. So can you tell me some of your personal stories? I know that you are an integrative nutritional coach. So how did that come about?
Well, I'm an entrepreneur. I have my own jewelry business. I've been in jewelry for 40 years. I design jewelry and sell it to big customers like Kohl's. And I was working all the time and I was taking care of everybody but me, and I got sick. And when I got sick, nobody knew what it was, and they wanted to give me steroids, and that's not my thing. So I wasn't going to live a life of pain and pills. I couldn't get out of bed in the morning. I hurt so bad. So I started researching, and that's what started this whole chapter of my life. I thought I had autoimmune disease, but I didn't know for sure. My doctor certainly didn't know. And so I started listening to symposiums online by the functional medical community, and I ended up listening to 20 of them, and it was all about autoimmune. So I figured out that was probably what was wrong with me. So two things create leaky gut, which creates autoimmune, and that's what sort of set me off in this whole direction.
I just want to take a moment and interrupt you. For our listeners who may not be familiar with autoimmune disease, could you tell us a little bit about what autoimmune disease is?
Well, autoimmune disease starts in the gut. And if you have toxins and sugar and stress, what happens in your gut is little holes get punctured in the one cell lining of your gut, and then little food particles slip through. When they slip through in the beginning, your body goes, okay, I don't know what that is, but we'll take a look at it. As they start slipping through more and more, it triggers your whole immune system and your body screams attack. And what's interesting about our bodies is each one of us has a weak point. So when that happens, those food particles mimic different tissues in our body. It could be the thyroid for some people. It could be the joints for some people. It could be the muscles for some people. And that's what it attacks, and that's autoimmune disease.
So autoimmune disease could really manifest itself as arthritis or as any joint inflammation or muscle fatigue or anything like that. So if you're sitting around and you have pain in your joints, or you were the beginning stages of arthritis, it may be a manifestation of this autoimmune disease.
Correct. And most people don't recognize when it's happening, and most functional doctors don't recognize when it's happening. So it's kind of interesting.
So if the functional medicine, the Western medicine people, I'll call them, cannot recognize it, and we really don't understand that the root cause of arthritis and inflammation diseases may be an autoimmune disease, What steps could people take to prevent this?
Well, that's what really the whole book is about. It's about cleaning up toxins and then cleaning up what I call toxins of the mind, which are stress, lack of sleep, lack of movement. If you do all the things, then you can get your inflammation to recede. One of the big things was food sensitivities. You can get your doctor to run the food sensitivity tests, and they're going to tell you it's bunk in the beginning. But if you get those tests, those are what I call my kryptonite foods. If I stay away from them, then I have a better chance of having an inflammation-free day. Functional medicine is not conventional medicine. It's a new paradigm of medicine. A conventional doctor wants to hear your symptoms and give you a pill. A functional medicine, which is a regular doctor who went to a regular medical school, mine went to Yale, but she got sick and couldn't figure out how to get herself well, so she went
It's a
for
good school.
additional training. And that's the functional approach, which is root cause medicine.
Okay, so I misspoke, and I'm a layman. I'm a podcast
Right.
host. I'm a guy that sits in front of behind a mic and talks for a living. So,
Right. No, I know. But most people don't even know this exists.
and that's why it's important. That's why I thank you for coming on this show. Because in addition to being here to talk about your book and bringing, showing a spotlight on autoimmune disease and foods that you should really avoid, your kryptonite foods, as you call them. And for me, it's dairy and it's gluten. I'm not gluten intolerant. I just find that when I have gluten in my diet, my joints kill me for the rest of the day. So I tend to stay away from bread.
Well, and dairy is a normal culprit of this.
Yep, I found that out as well. So those are my kryptonite foods.
And I applaud you that you listen to your body because that's a big thing that you have to learn to do.
Well, yeah, I went on my own journey of health and fitness because I just looked in the mirror and I said, look, I'm tired of looking this way. I'm tired of feeling this way. Let me find out what I can do. But the show's not about me. The show right now is about you and telling your story so you can help other people achieve healthy, fit lives. So your book is called It Feels Good to Feel Good, which I think is a great title, by the way.
Thank you. And it does feel good.
Oh, yeah. I can't tell you the first time that after I started avoiding the kryptonite foods and treating my body right, I woke up and I went through half the day and I looked at myself and I said, something's different. What is different about it? And I went, oh my God, I'm not in pain.
Yeah, I know. And believe it or not, when you start eating clean and doing this stuff, the pain goes away fairly quickly. It doesn't mean you're over the hump, but it's the first place to start.
It does. And it was such a unique feeling of walking around with pain for years and then suddenly to wake up one day and to be able to run to catch a bus and not be in that pain. It also sets up a trigger for me because I know that when my joints start to hurt, okay, let me go review my diet and see what I've eaten over the last couple of days and get back on track. So it sets it up as a barometer for me as well.
For sure. And my body didn't end up being that simple. I feel like an onion. My functional doctor keeps peeling different layers off, and we keep finding all kinds of interesting things underneath. But the
Yep.
best place to start is by eliminating toxins and reducing your stress. You do those two things, and you are well on your way to being healed.
So when you say eliminating toxins, what are you talking about specifically? What are some of the things we should avoid, not only in food, but in household cleaning items, in makeup, if some of us wear makeup, in just all the products we use? What are some of the toxins we need to avoid?
Well, the book starts with food, and I really dealt into what's the difference between organic, conventional, and genetically modified. I sort of knew about it, but I didn't really. And when you get into genetically modified, when somebody can convince me that it's a good thing to be eating herbicides and pesticides, I'll be happy to listen. But in the meantime, I vote not to do that, and my body
I
agrees with
agree with
me.
you.
So to eat organic is one of the most important things you can do. And then people will say, but I can't afford it. So my answer to that is pay now or pay later, because don't wait till you get sick and tired of being sick and tired.
Absolutely.
But I go past that. I go into sugar. Sugar is as toxic as they come. It creates leaky gut. So that's a trigger for autoimmune disease. It is as addictive as cocaine and heroin. And believe it or not, if you're eating a lot of sugar, it turns off something in your brain that tells you when you're full. So even after you eat a big meal and then you end with a very sweet dessert, your body says, feed me, because it doesn't know that you ate all that food. And so sugar's a biggie.
Now, Cheryl, you're talking about processed white sugar. What about unrefined sugar, sugar in the raw, things like honey and agave? Are those also on the no kryptonite list?
Yes and no. Sugar is sugar is sugar. Doesn't matter what form it comes in. But if you're going to eat sugar, eat one of the ones that have trace elements of things in it that are going to be healthy, which are honey and maple syrup and coconut sugar. Agave actually is not a good choice because it is very difficult for it to go through your liver. So it creates a whole series of problems unto itself.
You just drove a stake right through my heart. For the last year, I've been doing nothing but agave in my coffee, agave as a replacement for sugar. Now you're telling me I shouldn't eat it.
Yeah, no, it's really not good for you.
Oh.
And your liver is a really critical thing to take care of because it needs to be healed for your gut to be healed. So they all work, all different body parts work together. So yeah, start using maple syrup or coconut sugar or honey. They're much better choices, and use half of what you think you need. Start cutting it down. And I call them occasional foods. They're treat foods. I don't eat them all the time, but yes, we all want something that's a little bit sweet. But I also go into canned goods. There's a whole problem with what's in the lining of the canned goods. I go into processed foods and fast foods. If it has something in it that you can't pronounce, it's probably a chemical, synthetic, and it does your body harm. And good old fast food has no redeeming value for your body at all. So it's about giving your body the building blocks it needs because it really wants to keep you healthy. You just have to treat it well and give it the right things.
Yeah, when you think about it, it's really very simple. Just eat what nature gave us.
Correct.
You know, it's very easy to spell and very easy to pronounce apple.
Well, even
Right?
they'll get tricky because a large portion of what the apples are on the market are genetically modified. So you got to be careful that you're buying organic or you're getting things that have been made to handle massive amounts of herbicides. And so, and all of this stuff gets tested after it's been scrubbed 4 times. There's a group called EWG, Environmental Working Group. They have a website with hundreds of thousands of items where they actually rate it from 1 to 10 for how toxic it is. It's not easy to navigate in there. So in my book, I actually go through what did I find that was toxic? And what did I replace it with? And then I tell you how to research it if you want to find your own, because we're all different. But at least I give you a place to start. For food, you want to make sure that you follow the EWG guidelines of the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. The Dirty Dozen is now a list of 18 items. They change every year. But those are items that have so many herbicides and pesticides on them that you cannot wash off, that you would only buy them organic if you're even if you're on a budget. Those are the items that you key in on. The Clean 15 you can buy whether it's on conventional or not, because it doesn't have that many pesticides and herbicides on it. So when you're dealing with food, that's a place to start. And unfortunately, with processed food, not only are they adding tons of chemicals to it, but they're using all of these foods that have been heavily sprayed. And so you get sort of a double whammy of bad health from processed foods. I also choose to eat meat, but I eat what I call clean meat. I only eat beef that has been grass-fed, grass-finished, because I don't want the GMOs in my body. Lamb only eats grass, so he's easy. I eat something called heritage pork, which are little pigs that live out on the grass and forage and have a healthy life. I don't eat fish that's farmed. I only eat wild fish because, again, they're in pools with tons of antibiotics and fake hormones and synthetic ingredients to try to keep them healthy enough to get to your plate. And you don't need any of that stuff. So the whole first part of the book is on what to eat. And I make a big plea for you to cook, because if you cook, you know what's going into your mouth. If I'm going out, I actually have a little business card with my 18 sensitivities on it. I'll call ahead, make sure they can feed me. And when I get there, I give the waiter my card and say, go to the kitchen. He knows I'm coming, and tell him this I can't have. He can cook whatever he wants for me around these items. And I get great food. It's amazing how restaurants want to work around this. They want you to still come to their restaurant. So you just have to be a little aggressive about it. But after food, you asked me about things like cosmetics, over-the-counter drugs. All of that stuff also is toxic. Cosmetics, interestingly enough, have never been regulated, with the exception that in 1932 they passed a law because they were putting rat poison in mascara. So they passed a law to stop that. Last year, another law passed that leaves the companies slightly more accountable, but not very much. So it really behooves you to know what's in your cosmetics. There's a whole safe cosmetics section on the EWG site. I was buying very expensive cosmetics. Little did I know that they were poisoning me. And your skin is your largest organ. So what you put on your skin goes right through and down to your gut and causes issues. And the skin is also one of the places that you can detox the toxins out. You either do it through your skin, through your lungs, or through your defecation. And so you need to keep your skin open and clear so that your body can naturally detox. So you don't need that stuff. So again, there are cosmetics coming out on the market that are clean. I recommend what I use, but there are lots of options now. I see them all the time. So clean up your cosmetics, even things like your petroleum jelly products, mineral oil. They just clog your pores up. And I found a great product that does the same thing, but it's made with avocado oil. So there's alternatives becoming available so you can clean it up.
Okay, wonderful. Seems we had a little bit of a technical issue there, but we're back, so this is a good thing. Now, you have dropped a whole bunch of truth nuggets on us with the foods we should look for, the foods we should eat, the foods we should avoid, the makeup, if you're so inclined to use makeup, on what we should look for, the websites where we could research all this. I'm interested in knowing your journey, your story, and why this became an important part of your life and why it became your mission to share this information with others. What led you down this journey?
I got sick. I got sick and I didn't know where to go. And essentially, what I wrote was the book that's the manual I wish I had had when I got sick. I'm not one who's going to put up with living with pain and pills. And that's where I was. So I backed off of my business. My employees are actually pretty much running it now. And I started researching to get myself well, which eventually led me to a functional doctor. But eliminating the toxins and then eliminating stress were two big things that helped me get back on the road to recovery. And eliminating all my sensitivities was huge. So that's what led me on this journey. And I had no idea that every aspect of my life had tons of toxins.
Absolutely. I am absolutely appalled when I go out and I look at the obesity levels and the unhealthy looks of everyone being a general term in this country.
And a large
And
portion of that is because of the toxins, believe it or not.
Absolutely, because they are in everything. It's in the processed foods, it's in the fast foods, it's even in the quote unquote healthy foods, as you spoke about before. That even if you're eating a salad, what was on those salads? What was sprayed on the lettuce? Is the restaurant using organic food? Are they using chemical free food? These are things that we need to be aware of and educated because, as you said, Cheryl, either pay me now or pay me later.
Right.
I can go into Whole Foods and overspend for organic, non-chemical treated food, or I can go to Mickey D's and get a 99 cents hamburger. But in 10 or 15 years, I'm going to come down with a disease that's going to be way more expensive to me in my health and also deplete my bank account because of all the medical bills I'm going to have to pay.
Correct. Correct.
So it's always that pay me now, pay me later. And when you said that, I thought about that commercial. I think it was for Midas Muffler that was on in the 70s on television about a guy who would not get his car checked out, and his car eventually broke down, and it cost him thousands and thousands of dollars to repair when it would have cost him $199 to go get a checkup. And we also have to look at ourselves the same way. Spend the money now, even though it may seem a little bit more, to buy the organic, the non-processed foods. I know I become a big proponent of coconut water, even though it's $5 or $6 for a container of water. That's all I drink now because it makes me feel good. It hydrates me. And I think it's better for me than going and getting a Diet Coke.
Oh, it's definitely better than getting a Diet Coke. However, if you're going to drink coconut water, I would prefer that you get it from the coconut. It's not that hard to open up a coconut, and then you're getting pure coconut oil with all its nutrients that's fresh. If you eat as close to the source, it's good.
I actually have a jar of coconut oil, organic coconut oil that I used to cook with. Is that close?
Yeah, well, that helps. Coconut is actually extremely healthy. But I'm also very anti-plastic. When you get into the water section in my book, you pay 1,200 times more for a bottle of water, and it's less regulated than what comes out of your tap. Plus, the plastic is leaching into the water. So it's a double whammy.
Yep.
You don't need it. I put a filter on my kitchen sink, and I bought stainless steel nickel-free bottles, and I take my water with me everywhere I go. And if I'm going to be gone for a while, I have a jug that I fill up, and I refill my drinking bottle from my jug. And when it gets hot, it doesn't leach anything bad for you. So that's one place that you can control the toxins going into your body and save money so that you can afford the organic food. Because
You also just brought up a point that's a little bit of a soapbox issue for me, because everything we see in society today is that we have to live healthy. And that's all we're being inundated with advertisers and magazines and all this kind of stuff that we see. Yet it's $1.99 to get a small bottle of water, or it's $5 to get a small salad, but you can walk in and get a gallon of soda for 89 cents at any 7-Eleven out there.
correct.
And that is, part of my French, ass backwards. What people are saying and what they're doing are two different things. And that, I think, has to be corrected in society as well if we all want to live healthy lives as a society, not just as individuals.
And see, I think the advertising hype is always going to be there. So what I want to encourage everybody to do is own their own health. Doesn't matter what industry is doing, doesn't matter what ads are being run. You don't have to do that. You need to be aware, you need to research. Reading my book is a great place to start. But if you own your own health, then you protect your own body and the body of your families. And then the rest of it is just hype. You don't worry about it.
Absolutely. You do what's right for you. You pay now so you don't have to pay later. Now, I do want to just touch on one thing, because you say something very interesting in your literature that you sent me. You refer to ants, right?
Yes.
And now, when I think of ants, and this works into the food, because I think of ants, I think of picnics, and we all love to have picnics, and we all love to have fun, and we all love to get together on those summer days and play Frisbee at our picnic. But the one thing we don't want at our picnic is ants.
And they're really
and the
annoying.
one thing we don't want, and the one thing we don't want in our thought process are ants.
Ants is a term.
So can you tell us a little bit about what ants are? You knew where I was going.
Ants is a term that Dr. Daniel Amen, who's on PBS a lot, he named anxious negative thoughts ants, because they're just as annoying as the ants at your picnic. And I had a big dose of ants when I started my journey. My mother was a worrier. I was a worrier. I tore up myself apart with everything I did to make myself better.
What specifically does ANT stand for? What does that
Anxious
acronym stand
negative
for?
thoughts.
Anxious negative thoughts. Those are things we do not want, because they will tear you down.
And don't
folks.
believe your brain. It doesn't tell you the truth all the time. So the key for ants is, first you have to identify what your mind is telling you. You need to write it down. That's your inner critic. And then you need to let your inner champion come out and fight them off. And you do it I started by doing it by listing what they were, and then writing on the other side of the paper what my inner champion would say to it, to the point now that I don't have very many ants. But I also ended up having a chemical imbalance, which was easily corrected, which kind of shut down the ants. So that's a whole, and ants cause stress, and stress causes leaky gut, and leaky gut causes autoimmune disease. So it's all connected.
Now, you said something that was very, very interesting, where the anxious negative thoughts and that leads into stress and anxiety, and that my mind just went bye bye. I apologize about that, folks. That's what happens when you don't eat healthily. Because I had a muffin this morning, so my brain is a little bit on vacation
Believe
right
it or
now.
not, there's something called brain fog, and that's part of inflammation too.
And I just had a brain fog moment. I am living in London right now. There is so much fog around my brain. But right now, I want to ask you, Cheryl, the one thing I ask, and it's my favorite part of this podcast, which is people who are struggling with their health, people who are struggling with autoimmune disease, with leaky gut, with inflammation of the joints. What is the one piece of advice, practical advice, that you can give them to start living a healthier lifestyle?
Well, the first one is to clean up your food. And there's lots of information in my book to do that. But the second one is to clean up stress. My favorite part of my stress chapter is Dr. Andrew Weil has come up with a very simple breathing exercise that if you do it twice a day, it takes 3 minutes. It will significantly lower your parasympathetic nervous system. And I explain what that is in the book. I was on my way to my functional doctor. I was stuck in terrible traffic. I did this exercise the entire way there. And when I got there and she took my blood pressure, she came running out of her office because my pulse was so low. She had not ever seen somebody in her office that was that calm. And that's because of the Dr. Andrew Weil stress exercise. It's called the 4-7-8 exercise. You breathe in through your nose for 4, you hold it for 7, and then you blow it out through your mouth with your tongue up against your teeth for 8. And you do 3 rounds of that. It doesn't even matter if you do it fast or slow. It calms your body down, reduces your stress significantly, reduces your pulse, and that's a big step going towards health and helping your leaky gut. It's really very simple.
I have been practicing a form of that. I do it on a 4-8-8 count for about 15 years now. And it is something that I do to calm myself down, to get myself into a present and almost meditative state whenever I'm about to go into a podcast interview or work with a client or go in front of a room of people and speak. I practice this. I do it 4 times because it does calm you down. But also what it's doing, and you can tell me if I'm correct or not, because I've always believed this, is by breathing in and holding that breath in, you are building up the blood cells. And then by exhaling for a long length of time, you're actually over oxygenating your system and blowing it all out, which is cleaning the cells in your system. Do I have that right?
I actually have no idea. But I've been
Okay.
following Dr. Weil for a long time, and I know it works. And so I don't know the why that it works, but I do know that it works. And then I give you 33 other suggestions for self-care to reduce your stress. So that's not the only one, but that's the easiest one to do right away.
And all those suggestions can be found in your book, It Feels Good to Feel Good, right?
Correct. But I also talk about toxic relationships. When I got sick, it was a perfect storm. I was in a toxic relationship. I woke up in pain one morning and he announced he didn't like that I was sick. Well, what was I supposed to do with that? So there's a whole chapter about toxic relationships because they cause tremendous stress. And I talk about what you can do to improve it. Because if they really love you and you sit down and talk to them, people will change and try to support you. If not, you need to cut them loose and go find other relationships. Lucky for me, a year after I broke up with the first guy, I met probably the guy I should have been with all along. And he is a tremendous support. He wanted to go on a get well journey with me, and he has lost 70 pounds since we've been together. I married him 2.5 years ago.
Wow, that is...
So he considers himself my first big victory other than myself. So if you're in a toxic relationship, there's something better out there waiting for you. So don't be afraid to do that. But the toxic relationship can be a parent, it could be an employer, it can be a friend. And whoever it is, you need to try to fix it because it's killing you.
And also, I just want to say, number one, I agree with that. But sometimes fixing those toxic relationships mean being strong enough to walk away
Correct.
from those toxic
Correct. If you
relationships,
can't fix it, you got to go.
because that is something you need to do for yourself. And Cheryl, you sound like a very learned person, very knowledgeable on this subject. So, besides It Feels Good to Feel Good, what one book would you recommend that people read who are interested in improving their health and fitness?
Actually, the favorite book that I found when I first started buying lots of books so that I could help myself get well is a book by someone called Dr. Libby Weaver. She is a biochemist, believe it or not, and she wrote a book called Accidentally Overweight. Weight has been an issue for me my whole life. And what's interesting about her book is she goes into it's not about willpower at all. If all your body systems are not working properly, like a well orchestrated symphony, then sometimes you just can't lose weight. And I love her book. Everybody should read it, whether you have to lose weight or not, because she'll start with the liver and talk about how the liver should work, how you know if it's not working, what you can do to fix it. And then she goes on to the next body system that works with the liver, which would probably be the pancreas. And she tells you how to know how it should be working, what if it's not working, how to identify it, and what to do to fix it. She goes through the whole body that way. And it's really a fascinating read.
Now, they can get your book at Amazon, correct?
Correct. You can get it on Amazon or you can get it from my website. And there's lots of great information on my website.
Okay.
You can read my blogs. There's all kinds of great information in my blogs, and all my podcasts that I've been doing are there. And my whole history of how I got sick and what I did to get well, what functional medicine is, who my wizards of health have been, who I follow out in the medical community, and you should sign up for their blogs because they're loaded with great information. All of that's on my website, which is
I've got to tell you, first of all, before we get there,
okay.
I love that term, wizards of health. I'm going to start putting that into heavy rotation because I just love the imagery there.
Yeah, and I wanted to give my doctors credit because they've been fantastic.
And now, what I'd like you to do, if you want to tell people, as you're about to, how they can get in touch with you, how they could work with you, any other products or your services that you want them to know about, the floor is yours. Go ahead.
Okay, I am a health coach, and you can also connect with me through my website for that. What's good about me as a health coach is, God, I have walked in your shoes, so I'm a very compassionate health coach, so I'm a great person to work with. My website is Cheryl with a C, CHERYL, like Mary, Health, Muse, capital MUSE.com. And you can sign up for my newsletter there. You can send me a note. You can ask me a question. You can buy my book. You can read my blogs. It's all about health. So that's probably the best place for you to go to find out everything you didn't want to know about me.
Okay. And folks, if you're driving in your car, if you're in the middle of a commute, you're listening to this podcast in your headsets while you're on your iPad or iPhone or wherever you're listening to it, you didn't have an opportunity to write that information down, you can find all that information over on the show page at www.passionatetalk.com. Just go there. Click on the link for Cheryl's interview. That'll bring up all the notes for the show, time-stamped highlights of the conversation, plus all the information she gave you to get in contact with her will all be there on the show notes. And I'd want to let you know that this woman is a firecracker. She is a ball of passion, and she is definitely going to be there for you if you need her help and you reach out to her. She's really one of the most engaging guests I've had the honor to interview during this time that the show's been going on.
Thank you. It's been delightful to be here.
Is there any final words you want to leave our audience with? And please keep them to, let's say a sentence or two.
If you follow me on Facebook on my It Feels Good to Feel Good page, I'm planning a month-long event in February to talk about the toxins, and I'm going to have weekly prizes, and you could participate in that for free. It won't give you all the information in my book, but it certainly will give you some information that could change your life.
Okay, and they can find you on Facebook, and they can get to that Facebook link through your website?
They could, or they can just go to It Feels Good to Feel Good. It has its own page, and that's where I will announce the event.
And that's itfeelsgoodtofeelgood.com?
No, it's Facebook. And then
I'm sorry. Okay,
It
my
Feels
bad.
Good to Feel Good.
So, folks, if you head on over to It Feels Good to
Feel Good
on Facebook, you can sign up for that event and learn all about Cheryl there. And right now, Cheryl, I want to thank you very much for taking time out of your busy day to share some of that information on staying healthy and getting healthy with myself and my audience. And we will speak to you later.
Thank you so much for having me, Gary. I appreciate it.
Thanks, Cheryl. Well, as you can tell, Cheryl is very passionate and knowledgeable about integrative health. I love the simple way that she explained the difference between functional medicine and conventional medicine. I didn't know that much about functional medicine, so all those truth nuggets really, they meant a lot to me. The simple way that she explained what autoimmune disease is and some of the symptoms of what autoimmune disease is, that was great. I also loved when she said that you can pay me now or pay me later. And she also said that she was not one to put up with pain or pills. And I think really, folks, we're all that way. None of us want to put up with pain. None of us want to take pills for the rest of our life. So pay me now or pay me later is really a great motto to live by. Take care of yourself now. Spend a little bit more to buy the organic food, to buy the non-GMO food, to stay away from the processed food. And you won't have the huge medical bills later. You won't see your insurance rates going up. Well, folks, that's all the time we have for this episode of Passionate Talk. So, until next week, follow your dreams and passions and manifest the life that you choose.